Welcome back to Virtual Trade. I'm joined by new trader, Jenny Horne. Jenny, how are you?
Happy to be here again, Scott.
Okay, well today we're going to have some fun looking at our charts, and we're going to be focusing in and identifying on trends with the stocks that are already in your portfolio and of course on your watch list as well.
Great, I'm excited to get started.
Okay, well let's do this. We're going to jump into the thinkorswim trading software. And we'll start off by pulling up your watch list, which I can see is already on the left side bar, and then loading one of the stocks right into the chart. And let's show everybody again how they can just left click on the watch list and load it right into the chart.
Okay.
So why don't you go ahead and pick a stock out of your watch list on the far left side there.
Well, I would say Lulu.
Lulu?
I love Lulu,
fine.
so I'll click on them.
All right, now let's go to the charts tab, and it should be in there.
Great, there it is.
All right, so we've got Lululemon, and let's start like we did earlier. Let's try to identify the trend of Lulu right now, and it looks to me like it's pretty obvious what the trend is here in Lulu.
Yes, recently they've been doing really well.
Mm-hmm. And again, this is a one-year chart, Jenny, one-year daily chart, so each candle represents one day. So we're getting a pretty good perspective on what Lulu has done here. But you're absolutely right. In the second half of the year, if I move my mouse here, it has definitely been on an upward trend. And of course, if we wanted to add a drawing, we can always go to drawings, change our drawing tools to a trend line. Oh, let me just move it over. And of course, we can always just click the approximate price, a year ago to where it is now. And of course, we can see that trend line definitely slopes up.
Definitely, and definitely much below the trend line until as of lately.
Okay, so tell you what, let's go ahead and get rid of that trend line. And what we're going to do now is add a study to, now that we've determined the actual trend, let's add a study to it, see if we can get a little bit more information. And what we're going to look at is a simple moving average. Now, the simple moving average is calculated by adding the closing prices of the security for a period of time and then dividing that total by the total number of time periods. Does that make sense?
It does, but I've never really used simple moving average much myself.
Right.
I know the term, but I don't really know much about it.
Okay, so the way to get to this moving average, it falls into what we call the study, right? So it's not a drawing tool, it's a study. So to go to the studies, Jenny will go ahead and click on the Beaker. And since this is going to be a simple moving average, I like going to the Beaker, Jenny, because if you just start typing in the name of the study, it'll bring it up for you.
Okay, great. So here I'll just type it in.
So yeah, just the word simple, and look at that, not even finishing, and there it is, number 2.
Great.
You can left click and add it, great. Apply and okay. And now we have a simple moving average.
Great, and there it is.
So what I'm going to do, Jenny, right now is hide the left side bar so we can just focus in a little bit more on the chart. Now, are you happy with the way that simple moving average looks? Or?
I kind of like these lines typically if they're thicker so you can see them better because there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of different colors. I like it to be very obvious.
All right, so if we'd like to see that simple moving average line just jump out at us a little bit more, if you will, Jenny, we can just right click on it and go to the top where it says Edit Study. And we can, right here, yeah, exactly, moving your mouse to the width of that line, and right now it's 1. So you're right, that is the smaller or the finest line available. But if you wanted to make that thicker, you could go to 2 or 3. It's your choice.
Great, I'll do 3 and see how it looks. Much better.
Oh, I can absolutely see that jumps out.
Yeah.
Much better for our simple moving average. Now, the simple moving average, the study itself is defaulting to a 9-period segment, if you will. So in other words, it's looking at the last 9 days. On our chart, that would be the last 9 days and taking an average over 9 days. Now, if that's the case, it might tend to move quite a bit. And you can see it's hugging pretty close to the way the stock moves. But if we'd like to do something with a little bit longer time frame, it might sort of smooth the line out and give us a little bit more general direction of the trend. Does that make sense?
It does. So I have a question.
Sure.
How is this different than a trend line?
Well, a trend line is going to be a straight line,
okay,
right? And depending on where we pick the beginning and ending points of that straight line. And a lot of times the stock can move well above or below that. Now you can see the trend line, depending on what length we use, can really hug the movement of the stock pretty closely.
Right.
So let's go to 30 days. And I think you might get an idea of what we're talking about here. So how do we do this? Well, we can go right back to that Beaker again. And you can see simple moving average, that's the only study we have. And if I come over here and click on the little gear, again, that's another way to bring up the ability to edit the study. Now, you already edited the line itself. What we're going to do now is edit the length or the inputs of length. And you can see that's a default by 9, Jenny, but let's go ahead and change that to 30. if you could. And that's going to give us a little bit different look on the simple moving average.
Oh, wait. I don't have to, I can just type that in.
Sure, you can just type it in.
Oh, there we go.
30, and then we have to hit OK again, and apply an OK, and we should be good. Now take a look at that line, Jenny. It's moving, not quite as much as the stock. It's a smoother line, and gives us a little bit more idea of what a longer-term average is for this stock. And you can see that certain times it jumps well above that average, and occasionally drops just a little bit below it.
Right. So, like right now, the stock is much above the simple moving average. What would that tell us?
Well, if that's a good point. People who oftentimes use technical analysis or look at charts to help them make trading or investing decisions, they'll look at this. And one of the things they look for is when the stock itself moves above the simple moving average. Now, if it moves above, as it did like here, I'll start in this case right here. You can see the stock moved above, the candle went above. And take a look at this as well. Not only are the candles of the stock moving higher, but the simple moving average is moving higher. So when they move in tandem, many people look at that as being sort of a bullish cue, if you will, or outlook for the stock.
Okay, now what if they moved in completely opposite directions? Is that possible ever?
It can be, like we can see, not necessarily opposite directions, but you might see the stock really move up quickly, and then of course the moving average will catch up with it. So you might see that, but typically the average is, if it moves up a lot, the average will slowly start
creep up, right? Like
how
we're seeing as of lately in this stock.
All right, so great. Now we have a great idea of how to kind of look at moving averages for an individual stock. Now let's jump into sectors, because we've been talking about that, the sectors within your portfolio. And let's talk a little bit about what Lululemon is. And what's a quick way to find out what sector Lulu is in? Well, there's a couple different ways. I like going just to the Market Watch tab and going to Visualize, and then look at our personal watch list. And you can see, look for your individual stocks. Let's hide the left side bar. And do you see Lululemon in there? It would fall in the consumer discretionary.
They're right here. They're little.
They are little. Now that's one way. Now remember the second way? We'll go to the Analyze tab, put in Lululemon, right? And let's go ahead and look at the fundamentals and take a quick look and see if we can see it pop in here. Is Lululemon in there now?
Yes. So I think if you go to
Enter.
Overview,
All right, now
there it is.
Yep, right there. We just had it open up, and there it is. So we know it's consumer discretionary. Now, what about the trend? What if we were, we didn't have Lululemon, but we wanted to look at the sector of this particular group, the consumer discretionary group. How would we do that? Well, follow along. This is pretty simple as well. I'm going back to the Market Watch tab, and instead of looking at this, I'm going to go to the Quotes tab and then drop down to our choices here and just go down to Public, and I'm looking for S&P 500 sectors. Whoop, let me just bring it over. There we go, S&P 500 sector. All right, so let's go ahead and bring this up. Now, Jenny, what do you see? Can you find consumer discretionary in there?
I can, right at the top.
As a matter of fact, it is number one. All right, so by clicking on that, Jenny, it's linked, as you can see. So let's go to the chart. It should be right in our chart.
Great, that was so easy.
Aha, so there you go. Now we have a chart of the sector that Lululemon falls into.
Okay.
Now, what do you think of this sector?
Now this is interesting.
Kind of trending up, then sideways.
It's moderately trending up now, but kind of more all over the place than our last stock.
So we can see Lulu for this sector, even though the sector's starting to move up, Lulu's been moving up, actually started moving up before the sector itself.
Right, so you could say Lulu's doing better than the sector they're in.
Than the sector itself, exactly. That's a great takeaway, Jenny. So Jenny, what did you think of this lesson?
I thought this was really great, Scott, because a lot of times you hear about how a stock is outperforming a sector, and I never really knew what that meant, but this definitely gives you a better picture of that.
That's a great point, Jenny, and we'll continue to learn to use the Thinkorswim tools just in that way. Well, that wraps up our show today, Jenny. We'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Thanks, Scott.